Hey everyone, PrinceB here. Today we're going to be starting a new segment, and it's going to be a deck-type discussion for Yu-Gi-Oh! And this was actually requested by a friend of mine, and so in honor of that, since he specifically requested I look at the Gimmick Puppet archetype, that's what the first one's going to be about. So, brief overview. The Gimmick Puppets were an archetype of machine-type monsters used by the character 4, or Quattro in the English dub, of Yu-Gi-Oh's Exile. Without further ado, let's get started. The Gimmick Puppets are, like I said, machine-type monsters, mostly dark. There are 2 Earth-type monsters in the archetype, and they all have fairly low attack outside of their Xyz monsters. Most of them are level 8s with some level 4s and 1 level 1. And then the boss monsters are rank 8 Xyz monsters. And the point of the deck is to try and basically make rank 8 Xyz. That's what it does, and for that it does it fairly decently. They also have rank up versions of the Xyz monsters. We'll get to that later. But the main focus of the deck is rank 8 Xyz, because with such low attack, they're not going to be pulling out much on their own. So you're not going to be beating them down with the main deck monsters. So let's take a look at these. First we have Dreary Doll. If it's in your graveyard, you can banish another Gimmick Puppet monster to special summon her from the grave. And you can only use it once per turn. And she also can only be used as Xyz material for a Gimmick Puppet monster, so she's really limited, but she's basically she's a almost free rank 8, or free level 8 monster on your field for really easy rank 8 plays, as long as you have fodder in the graveyard. And she can also, since it just banishes one Gimmick Puppet monster, you can also banish a dead Xyz monster as well. But yeah, she's one of the most important cards, even though you have to keep that fodder going. So you're going to want to run her at 3. Egghead, you can discard one Gimmick Puppet monster, and you can only use this effect once per turn. You discard a Gimmick Puppet and get one of these effects. You can either inflict 800 points of damage to your opponent, kind of like Gaga Cowboy. Decent if you need that extra 800 points of burn, or you can change it to level 8. When the deck first came out, it was a pretty decent card, but now it's not even really good in the deck. Run 1 or avoid it is what I'd recommend. I'd honestly just cut him though, because he's kind of slow. Gimmick Puppet Gear Changer. It can't be special summoned from the deck, and once per turn you can target a Gimmick Puppet monster and change this card's level to become equal to that level. So basically, if you have this in hand and, say, Dreary Doll in the grave, you summon this and you copy Dreary Doll or you summon Dreary Doll with her effect, summon this, copy Dreary Doll, and make a rank 8. Fairly simple. The main thing that kills it is that it can't be special summoned from the deck, so no machine duplication shenanigans. 1 or 2 is probably enough. 100, 100, it's not going to be doing much on its own. It's a combo card. Gimmick Puppet Humpty Dumpty, level 4. When it's normal or special summoned, you can special summon a Gimmick Puppet monster from your hand, and you can only use that effect once per turn. He's pretty good. His stats are pretty horrible, and you'll probably be normal summoning the first one. He works with machine duplication, and that's something I forgot to mention. Dreary Doll also works with machine duplication. So You can do that to summon one Humpty Dumpty, special summon something like Drury Doll from your hand, and then machine duplication for 2 more Humpty Dumptys. You won't get their effects, but then you can overlay for a rank 4. He's probably the best level 4 monster for enabling rank 4 plays and just not drawing into all level 8 hands. So I think you should run him at 3. He's not great, but he does his job, and he does it better than Egghead. Gimmick Puppet Magnet Doll. If the opponent controls a monster and you only control Gimmick Puppet monsters and you have to control at least one, you can special summon it from the hand. Kind of like a Cyber Dragon, still really weak stats, but if you summon Drury Doll, who, like I said, she pretty much starts all the plays in the deck, you can special summon Magnet Doll and go for rank 8. Pretty easy. If you open multiple, you can, as long as you can get one gimmick on the field, you can get a bunch of Magnet Dolls on the field. So you could potentially go into two probably rank 8s in one turn if you have a bunch of Magnet Dolls and another Gimmick Puppet. But Gimmick Puppet Nightmare, it can be special summoned by tributing a face-up Xyz monster you control. You can only special summon one of these per turn. And when you do, you can special summon another copy of Nightmare from your hand or graveyard. If it's special summoned, you can not special summon any monsters for the rest of the turn except Gimmick Puppet monsters. So basically you tribute an Xyz, you get one of these, and then you special summon another one, ideally from your graveyard, and then you overlay them to make another Xyz. He was okay, but then the new rank up magic came out, which I'll talk about later. I wouldn't bother with him, since if he could summon another from the deck, he'd be pretty good actually, but as it is, it's just way too much setup for really little payback. Gimmick Puppet Scissor Arms. This one's really simple. It's a level 4, so it can be normal summoned real easy, and it's got 1200 attack, which is still really low, but it's one of the better, or the higher attack main deck Gimmick Puppets. Really simple. Basically, you summon it and you send a Gimmick Puppet from the deck to the grave. It's Foolish Burial. You don't need too many of these. 1 or 2 would probably be enough. Not much else to say on that. It can be used to make rank 4s. Gimmick Puppet Shadow Feeler. Cannot be destroyed by battle, so it's like Spirit Reaper. When you take battle damage from an opponent's direct attack, so it has to be a direct attack, while it's in the graveyard, you can special summon this card from your graveyard in attack position, and if you do, you take 1,000 damage. You can only use that effect of Shadow Feeler once per turn. If this card is an Xyz material and would be sent to the graveyard, banish it instead. It's not very good, but it can kind of stop an OTK or something. If it's special summoned in defense, it'd be a little better, but you have to take the damage from the opponent's attack, direct attack specifically. So that's probably anywhere from 2,000 to 3,000. Then you special summon it in attack mode and take 1,000 more damage. So that's another 1,000. So you're looking at 3,000 to 4,000 damage potentially, unless your opponent's poking with really small monsters. And then it's still in attack mode. So if they have more monsters, they're just going to keep attacking you. Maybe run 1, since it's a level 8 that you can special summon, but outside of that I wouldn't really bother. One at most. Twilight Joker. When a Gimmick Puppet monster is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, which isn't very hard since they have such low attack, banish that monster and special summon it from this card from your hand, and you can only use that effect once per turn. If it had better stats, like maybe 2,000 or higher defense, then I could see using this, but as it is, it's just kind of mediocre. If you're going to run it, run 1 or 2. Don't run 3. Especially since most of the time your Gimmick Puppets are going to be, you're going to summon them and then you're going to overlay with them. It's not really worth it. And then we have the OCG exclusive Gimmick Puppet Destroy. You can target a Gimmick Puppet monster you control, destroy that monster, and then you can only use that effect once per turn while it's face up on, or once period while this is face up on the field. And when this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, you can special summon up to 2 Gimmick Puppet monsters from your hand. Basically, you're going to summon this pop itself and then special summon 2 more level 8s from your hand and then overlay with them. It's OCG exclusive, so there's not really anything to worry about it right now, and even if we did have it, it's pretty mediocre. It eats up your hand really fast since you're playing this and then summoning another 2 with its effect, so it's not really worth it anyways. Uh, for archetype spells, we only have 2. We have Get Puppet Ritual. If your opponent's life points are at least 2,000 higher than yours, you can target 2 level 8 Gimmick Puppet monsters in your graveyard, special summon those targets. You can only activate 1 Puppet Ritual per turn, and you cannot conduct your battle phase the turn you activate this card. So it's basically a free Xyz, but your opponent has to be at least 2,000 higher than you, so you're already probably in a losing position unless you played Upstart. And then you have to have 2 level 8 specifically Gimmick Puppets in the grave. So you can't even bring back the 4s or the 1s of your deck. So it's really situational. If you're going to run it, run maybe 1. It tried to be like a Monster Reborn, but there's really no need for that when we look at the other support card, Junk Puppet, where you target 1 Gimmick Puppet monster in your graveyard and special summon it. Really simple. You can only activate 1 of these per turn. So, free Monster Reborn for Gimmick Puppets, a lot simpler than Puppet Ritual. You're going to want to run 3 of the Junk Puppets. And for the Xyz monsters, number 15, Giant Grinder, it needs 2 level 8s, up to twice per turn during your main phase 1, so you can't attack with your really weak monsters and then overlay main phase 2 for this guy and use his effect again. You can only use it main phase 1. Detach a Xyz material from this card to target a special summon monster your opponent controls, destroy it. Then if that target was an Xyz monster, inflict damage to your opponent equal to its original attack. So if you're using this on an Xyz monster, you can get some nice burn damage in. 25 defense isn't bad, and the deck makes him really easy. So he's not a bad card. Run 1 of it, maybe 2 if you have the space. But against Xyz heavy decks, it can be pretty good. Other than that, not much to say. I'm going to skip the Chaos forms right now. I'm going to look at Gimmick Puppet of Strings with 3,000, 2,000. And all these are rank. All the basic forms of the Xyz monsters are rank 8s. Once per turn, you can detach 1 Xyz material from this card, place a string counter on each face-up monster on the field except this card. If you do during your opponent's next end phase, destroy the monsters with string counters, and if you do, inflict 500 damage to your opponent for each monster destroyed. So you could stack up a decent amount of burn damage there. Ideally, you want to hit for at least like 3 monsters on the field or something, burn them for 15 or more damage. And 3,000 attack is not bad at all. He's the main boss monster of the deck, I'd say. He's the one who's going to be... You're going to go into him most of the time just so that you can pull beat down. And his effect isn't bad, but since it takes until your opponent's next end phase, they still have a turn where they can just overlay their cards or whatever and get them off the field, and then they lose the string counters. And it also affects your monsters, so watch out for that. You could... Every other monster you have other than strings can be destroyed, and then you're going to take damage. But yeah, he's the main boss of the deck. And then we have Gimmick Puppet of Leo. He needs 3 level 8 monsters, and he's got one of those auto win conditions. Once per turn, if you have no cards in your spell and trap card zone, you can detach an Xyz material from this card, and if you do, place a Destiny counter on this card. You can't conduct your battle phase the turn you activate this effect, and when 3 Destiny counters are on this card, you win the duel. That sounds pretty good, but it's really hard to pull off. You have to have no spell and traps, so that means it's going to be really hard to protect him. And if he gets Veilored or something, then he doesn't get to put the counter on, and then you're just not going to be able to accumulate 3 unless you use something really bad like Overlay Regen or something. He's got 32, which is higher than Strings, but he needs an extra material, so you can't even really use him as a beater in that sense. Only place he's really useful is if you're fighting like a chain burn deck where they're trying to burn you for game, and if you can just make this and stall behind it, you're not going to be attacking much against Chamberlain anyways, because they have so many hand traps. So that's the only place I'd recommend it. Probably not even really worth the extra deck space, but he's there. For Chaos Forms, C15 Giant Hunter, 3 level 9s, you're not really going to summon these except with a rank up magic. They need, once per turn you can detach 1 Xyz material from this card, then target 1 card, any card, spells and traps included. Your opponent controls, destroy it, and if you do, if it was a monster, inflict damage to your opponent equal to its original attack. That's not bad, and his stats are the inverse of Giant Grinder. So, not bad. Maybe run 1 if you're playing the rank up magic variant. Gimmick Puppet of Dark Strings. When it's special summoned, destroy the monsters with string counters, and if you do draw 1 card, then inflict damage to your opponent equal to the highest original attack among the destroyed monsters, your choice of tide. Once per turn you can detach an Xyz material from this card, place 1 string counter on each face-up monster your opponent controls. That part, the detach effect, I don't think you're ever really going to use unless you've got like multiple of these that you can summon. But the main thing is you summon strings, activate his effect, and then you activate a rank up magic to pretty much wipe all the monsters off the field and inflict some burn and draw a card to replenish your resources. Not bad if you're playing the rank up magic version. If you're not playing rank up magic, just ignore all the chaos versions. And then lastly, for monsters, we have C88 Disaster Leo. 4 level 9 monsters. It must be special summoned with a rank up magic spell card targeting Gimmick Puppet Leo, and cannot be special summoned by other way. So even if you add 4 level 9 monsters, somehow you can't make this guy. I don't think, because I'm pretty sure an Xyz still counts as a special summon. Can't be targeted by card effects, which is nice. Once per turn you can detach an Xyz material from this card and inflict 1,000 damage to your opponent. During your end phase, if your opponent's life points are 2,000 or less and this card has no Xyz materials, you win the duel. That's pretty terrible. If they're at 2,000 or less and it has no materials, then yeah, you win the duel. But with 3,500 attack, if somehow you manage to pull this guy out and you get him down to 2,000 life points, you probably just attack him with it. I would not recommend this even in the rank up magic builds. It's even harder to pull off than Destiny Leo. So I'd just ignore him. Now let's talk about some of the support cards they can run. They're all dark except for Egghead and Gear Changer. So you could run Allure of Darkness for draw power, and most of them are level 8s that want to be in the graveyard, so you can run Trade-In to drop the Dreary Dolls. Other than that, you've got your basic machine stuff, machine duplication, limiter removal, and your staples support. They really don't have a lot going for them in terms of outside of archetype support, but they have one pretty good card. A Gearspring Spirit here. He's a level 8 dark machine, so he fits in pretty nicely with the Gimmick Puppets. At first, when they first announced the card, I actually thought he was part of the Gimmick Puppets. I didn't read the name very carefully. Can't be normal summoned or set, must first be special summoned from your hand by having only 1 machine type monster in the graveyard, and that's a minimum of 1. Or by having only machine type monsters in your graveyard. Once per turn you can target 1 face-up monster your opponent controls. Its attack becomes 0 until the end phase. Basically, he can run over any monster that can be destroyed by battle as long as your opponent can't protect it with back row. So that's really good since the Gimmick Puppets all have really low attack. Trade-In fodder and Allure of Darkness fodder machine, so he doesn't conflict. And he's really easy to special summon for rank 8 plays. So all in all, he's a really good card. If you're playing machine only, I'd highly recommend him for the deck. But if you're not playing machine only, don't bother with him. And also, Be careful if you're going to be using Xyz monsters that aren't machine, because if they go to the grave, then your spring spirits will become dead. Uh, as for other tech cards you can run, since they're all machines, you can run the Machina engine with I can't spell. With Fortress, who opens up rank 7, plays with Big Eye and Draco Sack. Gear Frame gives you another level 4, and he can search and stuff. And Cannon is a 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. He's a 8. So if you play the machine, the Machina engine, you can also tech in cannons to give you more rank 8 plays as well. And then the other variant that I saw that was pretty good was the rank up magic variant, specifically using Argent Chaos Force, which is also the one that was used in the anime with this archetype. You can target one rank 5 or higher Xyz monster you control, special summon from your extra deck a number C or C Xyz monster that is one rank higher than that monster you control by using it as the Xyz material. Treat it as an Xyz summon and materials attached to the new monster, basic rank up magic stuff. When a rank 5 or higher Xyz monster is special summoned to your side of the field while this card is in your graveyard, except during the damage step. I'm not really sure why that needs to be there. You can add this card from your grave to your hand, and you can only use that effective rank up magic Argent Chaos Force once per duel. So most of your Xyz are going to be 8s and 4s. So 90% of the time, and you're not going to be running a lot of 4s. So most of the time, if Argent Chaos Force is in the grave, you'll be able to add it once per duel back to your hand. So basically, it means you can run 4 copies with only running 3. Really good. That's the variant that I decided to do when I was testing this. Other tech you can run, Card Trooper. He's a machine and he can mill for you, give you an extra draw. And Swift Scarecrow if you need battle or battle negation, since this deck can't really run hand traps if you're playing the machine variant, since it'll conflict with your spring spirits and all. So you can't play like Effect Veiler or Maxi, so Swift Scarecrow's a pretty good tech there. Other cards that work, this deck doesn't really have a problem with cards like Mistake or Goes in Match. So, or even like Rivalry of the Warlords. So you can run those in the side to deal with counter or problem threats. Also, you can run Skill Drain since the monsters have really low attack and most of their effects activate off the graveyard anyways. So you're going to be foregoing strings, and mainly strings as effect of putting string counters, but you can run Skill Drain if your opponent's running a really heavy deck or effect-based deck, and use Skill Drain to just kind of control the field with strings. Also, the deck can use number 66 Master Key Beetle. They can use Key Beetle with their block cards outside of Skill Drain. Can use Key Beetle with Rivalry of War. Well, no, not Rivalry, but Season Insect and their machines. But use it with Goes in Match or Mistake, and you can protect him. So that's also worth noting. Other cards. With the Xyz monsters, you contribute them for the virus cards. So you've got Deck Devi and Eradicator Epidemic, since they're all darks, and the Xyz Well, if you go strings, then you can get one that fulfills, you get a monster that fulfills both requirements. So that's decent. Other cards to look into, Breakthrough Skill is pretty good since it can negates the effects once per, or it can negate an effect on the field if you're not running Skill Drain, and you can also banish it from the grave to get that second effect. I mean, every deck can use Breakthrough Skill pretty much, but it's especially good here since Ophion will ruin this deck since most of them are higher than level 5 and they need to be special summoned. So Breakthrough Skill is worth looking at. And also basic removal cards like Trap Stun. Yeah, that's pretty much all we've got on techs. Oh, you can also run some other draw power cards outside of Trade-In or Allure. This deck can run Advanced Draw with for combos with Dreary Doll and Gearspring Spirit, most of the level 8s, but overall I don't think it's worth giving up that field presence for Advanced Draw. You can also run Upstarts and Reckless. Basic stuff. As for the strength of the deck, mainly the big strength of the deck is just being able to put easy rank 8s on board, since a lot of rank 8s are really powerful. Outside of their actual monsters, you can also run things like Alcai, Primal Origins will have Galaxy Eyes Prime Photon Dragon, that one's pretty good. Felgrand, Tachyon Dragon, they're all dark, so you can use Franken. You've got Heliopolis, and also you've got, they're all machines, so you can also run Googly Eyes Drum Dragon. And for rank 4s, your basic stuff, Exciton Knight, 101, Silent Honors Arc, and also Lava of All Chains pretty good here for just being able to dump monsters to the grave. And also with Lava of All Chain you can dump Argent Chaos Force if you can make a rank 8 that turn and then add it back to your hand and then instantly rank up. Also Gigant X is a pretty decent one in this deck too. But major focus, easy rank 8s is the big strength of the deck. As for weaknesses, the main one is, the biggest one would definitely be this deck burns through resources really fast. Like, for being despite being able to put a rank 8 on board, they eat through their resources so fast. Like, it can cost 4 cards to put one rank 8 on board, and so then pretty much other than that you need like protection. So that's the biggest thing holding this deck back, is how fast it runs through resources. Also, if you can't get Nixie's monster on board, you're not going to be able to really do anything with the low power monsters that the main deck has. Really prone to dead draws if you open a bunch of level 8s and no way to get them into the grave, like Trade-In. That can be a problem. Also, just anything that, like Bottomless Compulse, Torrential Warning, that'll get rid of your Xyz monster. That can be a problem since you're putting all your resources into that. Overall, not the worst archetype ever. They're actually really fun to play. If you're interested in it, just mess around on DN with it, or just build it and play it for fun. Do not try and take it to like a high-end tournament and expect to do well, because they're not a really meta deck unless they get more support, which probably won't happen since 4 wasn't like a main character and Zexal's also over, so they might get 1 or 2 more cards in the future, but overall doesn't look like they'll get too much direct support. Maybe some more machine support they can use later on, but what they have right now, they're not going to be meta. Just stick to it as a for fun deck only. Maybe you could top a local, maybe a regional with it, but don't expect to win YCSs with it. Also, before I go, I'll just show you the build that I was playing around with. This is what I was playing around with. I didn't bother really with the side deck, just some other stuff. You got Black Salvo if you want to play a Synchro variant. Uh, I wasn't really running enough force to justify it, but I just thought I'd throw it in there as a reminder of what you can do. But pretty generic stuff. Triple Spirit, triple Dreary Doll, one Gear Changer, triple Humpty Dumpty, triple Magnet Doll, one Scissor Arms, one Shadow Feeler, one Swift Scarecrow. Uh, I was playing the Argent Chaos Force build, one Machine Dupe, pretty standard stuff. A lot of rank 8s and some of the Chaos versions, also Lava Ball Chain Key Beetle and Geargiant X in the extra. So that's what my build looked like. But yeah, they're pretty fun deck to play. But like I said, they're just not going to be really meta. So I hope you enjoyed that. I'm no expert on the deck by any means. I'll go ahead and leave a link down below to the Pojo deck discussion forums, which is where I got information on the ratios and everything that I used when I was testing the deck out. And it was pretty good. I just kind of skimmed it. If you're really interested in the deck, I'd recommend you look there for more information. Like, comment, subscribe, tell me what you thought and what decks you'd like to see me talk about in the future, and thanks for watching.